That's getting really close. Hey guys, welcome back to iNVision Prototypes. I'm Nick. So today we are going to be fitting this front windshield. The perimeter, I've just been working on that and it's getting very, very close to where it needs to be. We've had the windshield in a few times. Got some rust here in the bottom, got some rubber little cushions to rest it on. You never want to rest a glass on a hard metal surface, just in case there's a little burr or something that's sticking up and causes the glass to, give you a little stress point and then run from there. What we're going to do right now, I think, is bring the glass back in and drop it in and see how it fits the perimeter. These bottoms still need to be brought in. There's still a little bit more fine tuning to do, but this top area is coming in really close. You probably see a little Sharpie mark there. I've made indications as we've been fitting it to either bring the top in or out, just fine tune it a little bit. When we had the buck in place, it was close, really close, but now with the glass, the final fitment and the angles, it's getting to the point where we need to have a 3/16 gap all the way around the perimeter once it's done. So that's really important. And like a late model vehicle, the glass is going to be urethane in place on a 3/4 inch flange. We're not going to be installing it on rubber or, for that matter, having a split window. It doesn't work too well with late model wipers. They can't really pass over that bar. And all I can say for what we're using is it's not the Mustang windshield. The Mustang windshield is way too flat. This one has a lot more curvature to it. When we had the car outside, a lot of comments were made about that nose being way too high, and yeah, you're right. Only reason, it was sitting up on top of the buck. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but right now what we're doing is we've rolled all the flanges to where they need to be on these side pieces, and everything's been tacked in place. I've clamped that front there. It might come down a tad lower, I'm not sure yet. There's a 2-inch leg that has to be taken and trimmed back, and then a flange rolled on underneath to basically create that bottom area that meets up with the grille. There's 2 side pieces that have to go in, but we haven't screwed them in just yet because if I do, they're going to interfere with getting the glass in and out. I figured this is a good time to get this glass fitted, make sure everything works out with that, create the templates for the bottom support. This is the Mustang curvature and it's way too shallow for that new windshield. So we have to take and create a new seat for the bottom. What we also have to do is create a filler piece that goes through here that mates up with that seat down there that basically fills the windshield into this point. Because you don't want to be looking in under your dash from the outside. And speaking about the dash, we haven't gotten there yet, but we're not going to have a vent in the top of the dash panel. It's going to be smooth, wrapped in leather and smooth. Where we're going to have the vent is in the front area here. Let me just move these out of the way. Stay. So you can see the original vent location was down here. We're going to have to create a duct that comes up and shoots outward so that there will be a hole in this filler piece here, allowing the air to shoot against the windshield and then flow up the glass and defrost your glass. I think at this point we're going to get the windshield and lower it into place very carefully and see how things fit. And then if I'm happy with everything the way it is, take the glass back out. We'll make some templates up for this bottom seat as well as the filler piece. Okay. Always very delicate procedure to lower it in. And that's one of the reasons we have those foam spacers. Okay, I'm going to switch hands. Okay. Yeah. Rest it down. How's your space over there?
Perfectly even. All
Good.
the way down.
What do you have? 1/4 inch, 3/16?
Yeah, I have the 1/4.
That's good. That's good. Okay. Now this foam spacer is a bit thick down here. Once we get the right foam spacer in place, that'll sit at the right location. We're only talking about 1/8 of an inch. It's a little bit high, but overall, our gap is coming in quite well all the way around. Yeah, so we're going to leave this so I can make up the templates, and then we can pull it out and put it back in storage. Now we've had this windshield in and out no less than 10 times. But with each time, we've gotten closer and closer to the correct fitment that we needed. And that's down to about 3/16 of an inch. There needs to be one more spacer at the bottom to slide it up a little bit more to close up that gap at the top. Aside from that, we're set. And we can go ahead and start making our templates. Now, these are just some strips of cardboard that I kind of ran off quickly, just at an approximate curvature. And now we have to go ahead and scribe it to the glass as well as to the firewall. And one thing I noticed in the videos is viewership kind of drops off when we start making templates. So I'll bring you guys in once the templates have been transferred to sheet metal and we're ready to install the lower bottom seat area. At that point, the glass will be gone because we know where everything needs to go. And then once all that's been tacked in place, we'll bring the glass back in, set it in, and test fit it yet again. Lights out. You don't want to fall down inside. Okay, so just finished fabricating this last piece here. Got it in a few screws, and it's not looking too bad. Now, the whole deal of this piece is it prevents anybody from looking in under the dash when the hood is up, because the hood line is way up here. On the Mustang, the dash was down below, the hood was down below. But since we've added and really reconfigured the body, this is the new dash line. So the dash is going to come into this area, pick this piece up, and what we need to do right now is determine where the grill is going to be. That's right. We're not going to have a grill in the top of the dash for the defrost vents. It's going to be in this front piece, and it's going to shoot air up against the glass. So the glass, there'll be a bit of a space here, shoot air up against the glass, and defrost your glass in the event it fogs up or whatever. Change in altitude can do that. It doesn't necessarily have to be wintertime, but even the summertime, change in altitude, depending where the car is, your window can fog up, and you really need that functioning. So anyway, got this in place. Need to test the glass, but before I do that, we're going to take and cut a slot into this piece here. Later on, we'll create a little transition piece to go from the defrost vent that's inside the dash, the stock location, up and made up with this piece here. There'll be a slot here, and it'll have a little foam spacer, so no air leaks out, and it'll just shoot up against the glass and defrost your windshield. So that's going to be it. The top of the dash is going to be nice and clean, smooth, no holes. Right now, I have to take and lay out that vent. I have a few marks here indicating the width of it, but I just need to determine the height. Now, it doesn't have to be very large. The Mustang, it was only about 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch at the most. That's all you really need, just to allow the air to flow out. Since I can't reach all the way across and scribe a line from that point over there to here, I'll take this piece out again, rescribe the lines, we'll go to the tipping wheel, create a feature, cut the hole out, and then reinstall this piece again. This piece must have been in and out of the car about 15 times at least, just to get it to fit properly. It's a very complicated curve, and there's a lot going on here. And it'll probably be out another dozen times before we're totally done with it. That's the fun part of building cars. Okay. So in regards to the way this piece or this little vent area has to look, if we take and push it upward, we're going to decrease the space between this panel and the windshield, and we don't want that. We want the space to remain about no less than 1/2 inch. 3/4 would be optimal. So what I have to do is make sure that we have the offset on the right side. So that this area between the blue lines, ignore this blue line here, I open this up a little bit. We have to take and push the center area down. So by having this offset to this side, it'll ride here. The upper wheel will push this blue line area downward, and that'll create a bit of an offset downward. You'll see what I'm talking about as soon as I start rolling it. All right. See, as the wheel turns, you guys probably can't see what's going on. As soon as I pull this panel out, I'll show you the offset, because it's not very deep. We don't need it very, very deep. Just large enough to create a bit of a seat. Come on. There we go. Okay. Whistling helps. So if you can see that little bump there, this is now down. It's perfect. So I'm going to take this panel. Actually, let's run this through one more time, make it a little bit deeper. We'll turn the panel around and push this side down the same way, and then we'll clean up the ends. This lower area of the windshield is actually going to be tinted, so you won't see any of this stuff down below. And have the wheel ride on this panel, the side of the panel there, pushing the material to the left of that area downward, and thereby creating that little depression. You thought I'd probably get that finger stuck in there, eh? Nah, not today. It's looking really good. Let's pass it through one more time. I could put this through the reciprocating hammer. Really, you can just do it by hand just as quick and just as nice. Okay, let's see if we can make this the last time. Uh-oh. Oh no. I went in on the wrong side of the A-pillar. So should have enough, there we go, flex to get that out. Bingo. And for fun, we'll get that center one in. Now, I mentioned that we'd get the windshield to test fit it. It did fit the perimeter nicely before. It's getting pretty late. I don't have anybody here at the shop to give me a hand to lay it in place. So we're just gonna leave it. And if I did drop it in, you wouldn't be able to see this piece as well. So there we go. That's it. So we have our slot created. Later on, we'll create a duct, a transition duct, to go from the dash up into this piece. You can see how strong that is. And it's only on a few screws. There's nothing really holding it. The dash will come up on the inside of that. You might have noticed these little spacers. This tape is kind of dead on this one, but these little spacers around the perimeter, that's what the glass is sitting on when we test fit it every time. And that basically represents the urethane that the glass will be adhered to later on. This gives us a consistent height that the glass sits on so that every time we drop it in, we come into a flush surface with the outside. We space it out that way. The other thing is there's a couple little sharp edges and screws sticking up around the perimeter. If the glass happened to come into contact with one of those screws, you could stand the chance of creating a crack and having that crack run through your windshield as you're test fitting it. Not a good thing. So that's why we use these little rubber or foam or whatever spacers. As long as they're nice and soft, that'll give a glass a nice cushion to sit on. If you guys are new to our channel, you may not be familiar with the R2 mid-engine sports car that we built a couple years ago. This panel was actually created for the interior upgrade inside the car with the windshield in place. I'll put a little card at the top so you guys can check that out. That was really fun to do. Basically, the entire process here was done from the inside with the windshield in place. You have to be really careful because one wrong move, you could scratch the glass, crack the glass, and that's something you don't want that to happen. It came out pretty good. Check it out. I'm going to wrap up this episode at this point here. We're almost done. This piece has to be taken out and drilled for spot welds. But before we do that, I want to take and test fit the glass one more time and actually have some help around here. I don't want to stand the chance of chipping it by, not putting it in the proper place. It's a lot easier with two people. The other thing we have to do is wrap up this upper structure that holds the skin in place. Right now, we just have this single layer of skin. We have to get the structure back up in place, spot weld all that, and then we can call this area finished. And at that point, we'll turn to the hood structure and start that. We've got a few of the skin pieces mocked up in place. The flanges have been turned on them. It's sitting exactly where it needs to. The hinges mounted. And at that point, we can start working from the inside out and pick up the hood skin with the structure. So thanks very much for watching and see you guys next time. Take care.